going.
Yeah. So projects and multiple observations, or combining multiple observations.
Okay. All right, cool. So we're recording. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen. So it really doesn't matter who's on video right now. If you don't want to be on the video, though, you definitely want to turn off your camera because it's going to record everything we're seeing. Can everybody see my desktop?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, so let's go to projects. And there's the old school projects, and then there's everything that's new. And several years ago, right before the City Nature Challenge, they changed how they do their projects. And most projects now are collection projects, and what that means is they collect everything that fits a certain criterion. So it can be a place, it can be a taxon, it can be a date, it can be a combination of those. And so here, let me go to, actually, you know what? Joanne, what's the name of the project? Do you remember the name of it? And is it one of these three right here? I'm sorry if I caught you in mid-bite, Joanne.
So apologies, I muted myself. It's both the top and the bottom.
Top and the bottom. Okay,
Yeah.
so
It's the ones I participate in.
so this one here, let's just click on this one here. So it depends on what the criteria are. Observations must meet all taxa in this location. So the question is if it's a collection. And I can tell you, I do a lot of observations.
How do I make it less loud?
Yep. So, Joanne, if you're in the boundary, it should be collecting because I haven't joined this project.
Okay.
You can see I'm on the list here.
Yep.
And so what that and all that means is, you know, if you're in Occoquan and you record an observation, it's going to be included in this because it's essentially taken probably anybody that's been there, which is really cool. I didn't know this project was there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's supporting Jim Wagner's wildlife surveys that he does, I guess, technically under ASNB's heading.
It's super, super cool. So what I did was I just joined it. I don't know if you guys saw that. And iNaturalist has been really slow today because I was doing some work on some of the projects. All right, so here we go. So now I've joined it. It looks like there's only 7 people here. Okay.
Where did you join it?
All right, let's go to. That's okay. I did that kind of quick.
Yeah.
Let's go to this one here. So if you wanted to join a project, like if you want to join this one, which looks like this is not the National Wildlife Refuge.
No, that's right.
Okay. You would click join.
Oh, there.
Yep. And then it tells you about the project and any rules for adding observations.
Okay. And then
you would click yes, I want to join. I don't go to those parks, so I'm not going to, but that's how you would do it. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
No problem. And then, but again, because they're collection projects, you don't have to be a member in order for your stuff to show up as long as it meets the criterion. Because like there's a bunch of observations I have. Let me go to.
What's the advantage of joining then?
You get updates and you have access to some. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing. It's that kind of thing. I just like to join it because normally in the old one you could join it and then you could look at. Yeah, you see down here because I've joined it. I can view my observations. I can view my species. I can view my contributions to the most observed species. So it's that kind of thing.
Got
so
it.
That really, it helps you sort that quicker.
Got it. Okay, then I could look specifically at observations by the other people taking pictures. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And again, like I said, most of them all are now, most of the projects are now collection. And like old ones, they gave you the option to change them to a collection. So I want to show you all. I was working on this, and one of the ones I just converted was I got in with worked with Rachel and got into the Long Branch one. So it had like 1,200 observations, and the majority were me because nobody else was adding their observations in, or most people weren't. And I went in and did this, and now it's got 5 times as many observations. you know, and a lot more information from people. So it's really cool. So
And
I really like these a lot.
And it went back. In other words, it captured earlier observations.
It captures every observation within the bounded area. And so in this case, the bounded area is Glen Carlin.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm a curator, so I can actually show you on this one. I forgot that. Let me show you. It says if I was to edit the project,
Ooh.
you can change the name and the pictures and all those things, which are all really pretty. But here's the key. What is the place or the user? So you can actually make a project and you're like, I only want to see what these people find in this park, you know, or during this date. And then of course, you can do taxi. You're like, I want to see all observations of swallowtail butterflies.
Huh.
And so you could put that in. But right here, all we wanted to do with this is every observation in Glen Carlin Park. And that's at any time. So if somebody puts in, you know, a daguerreotype picture from 1897 of a bird and it's in there and they, you know, they got the right thing, it's going to count. So so whenever anybody puts one in now, that'll count. So the tough part is if you were, I don't know if you've taken like if you guys have taken the programs with, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but she led mine and she always said you got to be really super accurate on your location. And I was like, oh, whatever. But the bigger the circle around your dot, the bigger that the quote error is for location. And if that comes out of the boundary of the parks, it might not count in those projects. So if you are more accurate with your location, it does help for that. So any questions on adding to a project?
Are you going to show us how to set up a project?
I can. Let's hold off on that for a second.
Okay.
But I will say if you go back to projects, because people are asking how to find a project, you go up to community, and scroll down to projects, and then once you're there, you would search through this bar for the projects. Now, there's, you know, search it by name. I don't feel like this is a very good. It's not always a great search engine. And if you don't know the exact name of the project, it could be lost. And I don't know if there's ways to find projects by subjects. But one way to do it too is, let's say you've got observations here. Let's go to observation. I haven't been keeping up, but I want to find one that's. Oh, here we go. Let's do this. Let's do redback salamander here. So after your project goes up, almost immediately, anything that your observation falls into a program or a project is going to be caught up here. So like here's the global amphibian Bioblitz. And this is essentially a project that shows every amphibian sighting on iNaturalist around the world. As you can see, they're closing in on 1 million observations here. I don't think, did I join? Oh, I did join. So you can see all the different species and observations and things like that. Why was I going to show you this? Oh, but because it was my observation automatically triggered that project. If you're interested in it, you can just click and go directly to it. So that can be helpful. Like I've also had feathers. Oh, and then someone asked this too. So not every project is a what you call it. Not every project is still a collection project, because I feel like you can only do those now, but there was an option in the past where you could still do projects that are non-collection, and so people have to add them to the project. Here we go. Whoops. I lost it. Trying to get that feather picture, because I feel like this is one. I don't know if this is added in or not.
There's found feathers.
I hope I shield you from that. Yeah, found feathers. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Virginia Biodiversity Project. I still put mine in there. There's the Virginia Bioblitz, and I feel like I don't know why I still do this one, but every time I put in a sighting that has Virginia Biodiversity Project, I do that. Hey, you know what? Here's an idea. Let me show you all, because I know there's a question about how to add more than one photo to an observation. Let me show you that 2 different ways, from a phone and from the desktop. so that we can, and then I can show you this project, how to add to a project when you have it on there. I think that's a good way to do it. Hey, so it was asked how to add more than one photo. Is everybody interested in how to do it on the desktop, or is everybody doing this stuff mostly from their phone?
Well,
I do both.
Yeah, I do both.
Okay. All right. So
Both for me as well.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's start from the desktop. So I take photos with my cell phone, and I take photos with my broken down camera. And all my lenses are broken. So if I take the camera, I take the memory card out and I put stuff on my computer and I sort it by folder. So I put it in the name of wherever I was that day and then the date. And I go back through. So I take a lot of my photos in RAW. I don't know why I'm not that great a photographer, but so I have to convert it to JPEG. And then once I convert it to JPEG, I get something like this. Let me, I prepared for just such an occasion. So here are 4 photos that I would like to add in on this particular day. My camera does not have a GPS option, so I can't do location metadata. So when I put pictures in, I have to manually enter in the location. So if I'm going to upload from my camera, and if at any time, actually, let me go back. Sorry. If I'm going to, at any time, if I go too fast, please stop me and ask me what I just did or to repeat it. I'm happy to do it. But I pulled a couple photos out so I could do this with all of you. So I would go up to upload, and there's more than one way to do it, but this is the easiest because this is on every screen. So go to upload, and now it's going to ask me to choose where the files are. So I'm going to go into, and thankfully no, that's on my desktop. I'm going to find, in this case, it's on my USB disk and iNat forum, which is today. And I know I want to use all 4 photos, so I'm just going to select them all and click open. Now what it's going to do is put them all in. You can see it says loading metadata. There's no location data, but the dates and the times are all there. This is from last July. Okay. Now this is, hopefully you can all see, there's my little picture of a hummingbird, which I probably should have cropped, but nonetheless, what I love about this, because when I started, you were really on your own with identifications, and they have a really nice, I think it's an AI or algorithm, whatever it is, but you can click now and it'll give you suggestions, and they'll give you something like this. We're pretty sure about this, and then our top suggestion, which hopefully they did that by location because it's the obvious one. So that was really easy. My ruby-throated hummingbird. Now all these pictures here, the next 3, are all the same individual at different angles. It's that wasp in the middle. Hopefully you're all seeing that right here. So I want to make that one observation. So I'm going to decide which of these I want to be my main image, and I'm going to actually choose this one. And then I'm going to grab, and make sure when you do this, you grab the entire card here, not just the image. But I'm going to grab this and drag it on. See how it got green there? And let go. Now I've got 1 of 2. I'm going to do the same with this one, drag and drop it. And now I've got 3 images. And those are my 3 images for one observation.
Ken, can I ask?
Absolutely.
I just grabbed the image and it seems to work.
Does that work? You know what? I feel like I had an error with that, but if it works, great.
That's how I've always done it. So
okay. Yeah, I feel like I don't know why it's different. Maybe I panicked once and I've just never tried it, but yeah, I just grabbed the whole thing. But if it works that way, great. And then now, so I've got 3 images here, and I don't think they limit it anymore. They used to limit it to 4. When I show you it on the cell phone, it's only 4. But I saw there's a great picture of some eagle in Africa. Somebody took a picture of carrying a cobra, and they had like 15 pictures. And I forget why I marked it or saved it, but dozens of people commented. It was a really cool set of pictures. But they had like 15 images of this eagle carrying this snake that was flying over. So what I always feel like is if the image doesn't do anything, like if you've got 7 pictures and it's all the same bird looking in the same direction, it's the exact same, you really only need 1. You really only need one. So make sure, you know, if you're doing it, make sure you got different images. And again, for this one, I've got a couple different images when it's facing left, and then one where it's kind of more facing right. So I'm just trying to give different options, even though I already know, excuse me, that this is a Remnophilia orionatata because I see it all the time. And it's a pretty common wasp in our pollinator garden. So I'm gonna select that. So now I have these two. They're actually slightly different. I don't know how many of you do this. I always take the time, but you know, to put the location in, and then you can write it in, or oh, it's not gonna let me do that. No, and you can actually type this in and save you a little bit of time there. And it's actually going to be right there is the wasp. Oh, so okay, so see the circle here? This is what I was talking about with the arrow. If your arrows get too big, or if your circle gets too big, and it puts the observation largely out of your space, that's no good. So I'm actually going to make my circle smaller and center it right over the pollinator garden there, and update that observation. And now the beauty of it is, oh, I did it on the wrong one. So the beauty of it is I can do it again for the wasp and update it, and because it already takes you there. And then I will actually move my hummingbird was on the pine tree right next to the nature center right there. So I don't get super, sometimes I forget, so I don't always get super retentive about it, but I do try to get the location as close as I can when I put it in. And now I've got two observations, and I can submit or I can add them to projects. So this is where I would come down here where it says projects on the left. Move my cursor, make sure you can see it. So if you take details, I can close details. You got tags, projects, and fields. I don't use tags or fields, and maybe someday I will. But under projects, I'm going to click that. And if I click on the add project, so it'll show projects that aren't collection. That means you have to voluntarily add your projects to these. This is another one like this Assateague Island, Maryland. Whoever is the owner of that project really should change it to a collection project, and then nobody has to do any work, and you automatically get the data, which is the value of being of these collection projects. So Atlas of North American calling insects, things like that, a lot of fun. I always put my stuff in the Virginia Biodiversity Project again. I don't know why. I keep doing that because I'm not sure who's actually running it. And then, oops, all right, I made a mistake. Let's try this. So I'm going to hit Control and click on both, so they're both highlighted. The other way to do that is go up here and select all. And I'm going to go back to projects and close that and redo it again so it's on both of them. All right, so I did that. And now I want to click on just the wasp. I'm going to go back to add to a project. And there's flower visiting wasps of the US and Canada. And I'm going to add it to that. I understand that for some people, this is where it becomes almost like work, adding these kinds of observations to all these projects. I only pick the ones that I find interesting, like megafauna of North America, found feathers. I enjoyed dragonflies and damselflies. But you could really get bogged down doing this if you wanted to. So I don't think there's anything else to add to. Oh, go ahead.
Can the City Nature Challenge is a collection, so we don't have to add. Okay, good.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at the projects again, let's come back here for just a second. 2016 or 2017 Arlington County, Virginia Bioblitz. Why isn't it here? Oh, right, here we go. City Nature Challenge 2017. They changed to the collection projects right before the 2018 City Nature Challenge. So I think 17 was my first nature challenge, City Nature Challenge, and they changed it in 18, which I thought was brilliant because there were so many things you could miss, or so many people doing, you know, iNat that weekend that just wasn't getting included. And so changing it to collection was brilliant because it makes it easy for you to participate, and you also don't even have to know about it to participate, which is, I think, really cool. All right, so any questions?
Is there a default as far as the accuracy goes? Because sometimes it seems like it always changes how big that circle is.
I think it depends on, you know, how far into the map you are.
Oh,
Yeah. And I don't know if that's the answer you're really looking for. Let's see here. There's one of those vehicles I was telling you about. So like, yeah, I don't know how to say it. I'm actually messing up my project here, but like in a map like this, you might get a circle this big or maybe this big, but actually, you know, hold on, let's go out. So if I did it over here, it's going to be that big. But then if I zoom in, and I do it there, it's still the same size circle, but it's a smaller area because it's a bigger map. Does that make sense? Or zoomed in map?
yeah, I think so.
And I feel like that's how this generally works. I could be wrong on that, but I think for whatever size map, they have a certain circle that they do. Actually,
I wasn't even aware of this accuracy thing until somehow I screwed up a whole batch that I did, and they were all like for the whole world or something. And people were saying maybe you should fix your accuracy.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned about it.
That's funny. Oh wow, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I've put some stuff up and I've completely, you know, blocked where it was, and people are like, I can't really tell you what this is if you can't really if you can't tell me where it is. And I'm like, actually, I can't tell you where it is because it's not my property, or it's something that I don't want everybody coming to find. Like I did that with some screech owls in Arlington a couple years ago, where I wanted to put on iNaturalist, but I didn't really want people to find it, and so I hid it on the geo privacy.
Right.
Let me submit these. Let me make a quick point about geo privacy. I don't know if anybody out there is doesn't want to do like their own observations in their own home or on a friend or relative's property, but whenever I do that, I always choose obscured. I don't choose private because it just doesn't give any information, and that can make hard for people. But obscured can give you a region. So if you look at my observations here, you can look at this and you won't know. You're not going to be able to tell where I live. But let's zoom in here a little bit more. Try to get that there. So, nope, not stop with the hummingbird. I usually do this with the mouse. It goes so much faster. But you can get an idea that in this rectangular polygon, this rectangular spacing of all these vague points, that might be roughly where I spend a lot of time. Does everybody understand where I'm coming from?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so these are all essentially on my property, or the property I live on, but I don't live on property that big, obviously. And so this is how it obscures them. It selects this polygon around that location where you're obscuring it and gets a square. So you'll see several people, like I've seen some other people too, where they have, they have done a lot of surveys in their backyard. You know, I go and visit my in-laws and they have some great property. There's another polygon right there. Those are all the observations I've made in and around their properties on Massachusetts, and I obscure them all because I don't need somebody knocking on their door or trying to go on their private property and find anything I found if it's really interesting.
Obscure is a nice feature.
Yes. Yeah, I really like it. All right. I don't have a pen to tick these off. Oh, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Try not to take too long on this. Let me stop sharing here. All right. So if everybody can see, I'm gonna hold up my phone, and my phone is actually how I'm doing the audio. My wife is awesome and helped me. So here's iNaturalist on. This is the iPhone, and they have tutorials for both on the website. When you are adding a multiple, so and this is really cool. So I'm gonna. Can you see? I don't know who wrote that, but can you see me? Actually, you know what? Here's what I can do. Let me try to do something here. Whoops. Get rid of that.
We can see you. I can see you.
I'm going to spotlight myself for everyone. Can everybody see me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to hold my phone up. Hopefully, can you make out the white band here?
Yes.
All right. The one here, this is brand new. You can actually record sound now with your app.
That's awesome.
Yay.
So whoever is chatting that they can't see it, I apologize. I don't know why it's not coming through.
Oh, click on your phone. There
It'll
you
be on the video. Thank you, Yolanda. It'll be on the video, and I'll make sure everybody that's on this gets it, and you'll be able to go back and see it. So I don't know why it's not coming through, because I did spotlight it, so it would hopefully be big for everybody. So the one on the far, I guess as you're looking at it, be the far right with the microphone symbol that says record sound. You can now click on that and record sound, and then upload it, and it'll have the metadata with it. I believe I haven't actually used it yet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. But what I want to say is,
yep, I've been using the voice memos on my phone.
yes, me too. And then I got to email it to myself and then put it in.
It's an extra step.
Yeah, but they originally you had to put it on SoundCloud, which was an extra step, and they got rid of that in the last year or two, which is fantastic. But I'm excited to start recording with the app and not record with my memos anymore. But I hope I can still take those sound recordings out somewhere. Whoops, sorry. So the next one in that says camera roll, you would click on that. So I'm sorry. So the other thing I want to say is I take pictures and I put stuff in later. I almost never enter something from the field. If you're taking multiple pictures for an observation and you're doing it all in the field, actually don't have an answer for you on that. But if you're doing it from your phone and you get to the camera roll, you just select pictures until you get to 4. I'm just randomly selecting here. If I hit that one, see how everything went pale? That means you've selected 4 and you're done. What I've learned with my big clumsy fingers is I'm scrolling through and everything suddenly goes pale. I'm like, what happened? It means I accidentally selected 4 pictures while scrolling to where I wanted to be. So that's how you would add multiple. So if you do like here, woo, I just threw the phone at you guys. You're still there, right?
Yeah. And
all right, cool.
Camera roll effectively just shows you the observations you've made. It looks like.
No, camera roll is all my pictures.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's my daughter right there. She's not an observation. So what I could do is, let me see. Okay, here we go. So I'm doing a reflection. Oh, stop it. All right, so I was at Long Branch yesterday. So I'm going to do this one and this one. So see, they both have blue checks on them. All right, and then when I hit, I'm going to go to, I know this is awkward. I'm going to go to add up here. I'm going to click that. Now I have 2 pictures in my observation and I can get started with it. But again, you can only go up to 4 when you're doing it from the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So again, take 26 pictures. Just know you're only going to be able to add 4 of those. So whatever the 4 best or the 4 with the best details are. And again, I since we're asking about it, I think everybody knows, but the advantage with things like plants, flowers, trees, mushrooms, some insects even, the more angles you get, the more likely you are to get an identification that's further down the species. So are we, did I do good on that one? Took a long time.
Thanks, we can see that.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions about adding more than one photo to the observation?
Just so you know, you can choose which photo you want to be first.
Yes, you can. We can move it to the left. Yep.
Yeah.
And you can also cross them out too. What's that?
Does it matter which one is first?
Whichever one is first is the one that's going to show. Like if you go into, let me share my screen here real quick. If you go into identify, because like if I get time to kill, I'll go and identify and see if there's any I can help with or identify. I don't do this a lot. There are people with like 100,000 identifications, which is amazing. But like here's a mantis. This is the first image that you're going to see here, or this right here. So
okay.
Yeah, so if I click on this, their second image probably would be the better one to start with, but it's a preference, whichever one you want. but your great blue heron, this is Lancaster, Kentucky. So I'm going to go ahead and agree and help them out while we're here.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was
so,
wondering.
but yeah, that's the first one. So that's the one that shows. So sometimes if you have a really close up part of it and you feel like that's going to be the what either catches someone's eye or really gets somebody to recognize that they can help you, maybe start with that one. And then also, if you can see here, it shows how many pictures have been uploaded. So like this one's got 2, this one's got 2. This is the only picture. This cottonmouth over here, this is the only picture. So, people can see if there's more pictures as well. But, a lot of times just going through this stuff, I've went by things that I could have ID'd because I didn't notice them or it wasn't a really clear picture that the first one that they put up there. So sometimes when there's thousands of these pictures going up, possibly every hour, it couldn't hurt to, especially like over this coming weekend into next week, there's going to be tens or hundreds of thousands of images showing up under identify, which is also why they want you to go through the project to identify our stuff first. But so there's going to be tons of things going through there. So, put up pictures, hopefully that are going to catch people's eye and get them to want to try to check out your observation and identify it. Let's see here, come back here, stop sharing for a minute. How to correct misidentified locations. Does anybody, you mean like after, whoever asked that question, was that when, is that something that's already been put up? Did anybody here ask that question?
Probably not.
If you've got an observation that's already got a bad, the person who asked that is not on the call, of course. Just real quick, your observations, you can always go back at any time and edit an observation. I could go onto this one here and be like, you know what, I really don't like one of these pictures. So you could delete a picture, you could change all that stuff. All you gotta do is go up to edit. And you could delete it, you can duplicate it if the images are good for more than one observation, because sometimes you'll have a picture that shows several organisms. You just got to make sure that people know which one you're trying to identify, or edit the license. I don't know, I've never met with that. Usually I've just deleted because I found that I did a duplicate. But you could also go to edit, and this was like, it never shows up like this. This is very much like their first, the way they used to be, they used to look when you put stuff in. And I'm glad it's not like this anymore. But this is where you can go ahead and you could delete one of the photos. You can completely change the location on the satellite. You can edit the time and the day. The location.
Ken, are you showing us something? Because we're just looking.
Oh my gosh, I didn't. Yep. You know what? You're just looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm a good-looking man, but that's not what you want to look at. Sorry. Let's go back to the desktop here. Sorry. So what I did was, I just realized I explained that a lot to you. So I pulled up this observation, and there's a couple of pictures here, all this information. If you want to edit any of it, you can go up here. You could also delete it or duplicate it. I've done this before where I put up a picture and it's got multiple things on it. But always make sure that there's a way for whoever looks at it to know exactly which part of that picture you want them to identify. But if you click on edit, this is what I remember the old initial interface looked like. But you can go through here, you can delete one of the pictures over here. You can change the map here and the location, either by typing a new one in or zooming into a different area. You can change the time and day, all these kind of things. You don't need to change, you shouldn't have to change this here because you can do that at any time on the record, but you could change it there if you wanted. You can even come down and, oops, I thought there was something more down here. Oh, no, I thought there was projects, but anyways. Oh, you could add a sound if it turns out this beetle is making a really cool sound and you had a sound file of it, you could add that in as well. So lots of different options here. Beetles all over the place. So I want to cancel this so I don't mess up my observation. Or save it if you did make changes. So that is how you could correct a misidentified location. Oh, and then someone asked about how to use the Explore feature. As long as we're going in order here. Oh, hold on. Let me do number 2. How to get more refinement in the taxonomic level. Did the person that write that, are they on the call here? I hope. Nope. I'm answering somebody else's questions. Well, let's come back to that one at the end. The Explore feature, hopefully this is, and chime in if I'm asking your, I'm looking at my questions here. Yes, it was Lori. And Lori's not in on the call, I think. Oh, Romana, I'm sorry. Good point. So when I observed a picture, let me get out of here. And hopefully, no, I'm still big. I think I'm still spotlighted to you guys. So when you've got the two images right here, underneath the images, I think you should notice there is under the first one, the one to the left, it says default and it's checked. You just check that circle under the next image and that would make it the default. So if I did check that circle, hopefully you can see now the dark picture is first and the light picture is to the right. So that's all you would do to change which picture is first on the images. And then you could do that same thing from, whoops. You could do that same thing from here. If I was to edit that, you've got three pictures here. And I think I wanted this one to be first. It's not letting me change that. Interesting. Thought I was going to let me change that and it won't. So when I combine the photos on the on that main screen, when I combine the photos on the main screen, I took the one that I wanted to be the main picture. I didn't move. I moved the other ones on top of it. So that means the one that was the main picture is the one I moved everything to. So that remained. So that was the first photo that was shown. I feel like there's a way to do that. I'm not sure why I can't see that now, but if I figure that out, I'll email everybody. So I'm starting to go down the list here. I want to make sure, because it's 7:45, I don't want to lose anybody that didn't get a question answered. So does anybody have a burning question I can get to? And feel free to unmute and just yell at me.
All right. I think I'm going to excuse myself. Thank you so much, Ken. This is helpful.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Joanne.
Okay, ciao.
Sure. And if there's a question that's not on the list, but we can do, because I can always send out an email asking if I didn't answer these questions, if I can just email someone directly. But I'll keep going down the list if nobody chimes in. But if there's someone's got a really burning question I want to ask, please go ahead. I feel like I did most of the project questions, except for how to set up one.
That one's a good one. And also someone wrote about metadata and how to transfer metadata.
Oh, okay. The trick with metadata, I'm not sure about transferring it. The trick with metadata is to make sure it's recorded by your device. So once I figured out in my privacy settings, I feel like a real Luddite telling you this, but once I figured out how to turn on and turn off that for my photos, that changed how I do iNaturalist, because it's so quick now, because I do record the location when I take my photo. You know, I take my photo, date and time are already recorded, the pictures are recorded. All I got to do is enter what I think the critter is and do any projects, and I'm done. And maybe geoprivacy again if it's at home or if it's somebody else's place that I want to keep private. So if there's issues with metadata and changing it or getting it transferred into iNaturalist, I think the first thing you want to check is the settings on your digital device, whether it's your phone, whether it's your camera, and make sure that they're set to what you need. And then if that's not transferring into iNaturalist and there's something else going on there, because iNaturalist specifically looks for that. Like I think what you saw when I put in my camera pictures, it automatically populated the date and time. So I was done. It didn't populate the locations, and that's because my camera doesn't record that. So my first check for anything with any kind of problem with metadata is making sure that that your phone's recording that. Oh, something else, and it also depends on where you're going. One other thing I learned is cancel. If any of you are using Seek, which is the like, I don't know, it's like a brother or sister app or sibling app to iNaturalist, and it's more of a like get out and find stuff and yay, and how many critters can you see in collective plants. If I take a picture on this for Seek, and then the picture is still going to show up in my camera roll, but it doesn't have the metadata, or the metadata doesn't transfer, and I don't know why. It'll show up like if I open the picture in here, it shows me the time and the date. I don't remember if it shows me the location, but none of that shows up in iNaturalist when I try to load the picture in, and I don't know why that is. So if I take the picture through the Seek app, but again, if anything I take on my phone, on my camera, I have all that metadata turned on, and I've never had a problem. So if it's something more specific than that, I can maybe talk to whoever afterwards. I feel like Rosemary told me who asked that question. I don't remember, but I think that the first thing I would check is your phone definitely recording that, or your camera definitely recording that information for your images, and then go from there. That if it is, then where's that transfer issue, or how are you transferring that data to? I almost said Netflix, almost to iNaturalist. And then I guess we could, how to set up a project. Oh, go ahead.
Can I mention something?
Sure.
For people, I'm so excited that we can now record audio, but I've been using BirdNet, which is a free app that you can use to record and analyze bird songs. And once you've saved your observations, you can share them. And unfortunately, you can't share them to eBird, but you can share them to iNaturalist. So I've been recording bird songs on BirdNet and then sharing them to iNaturalist, which is fun.
Very cool. And yeah, that's the downside of recording this. I'm super excited to try it on the iNaturalist app because Yolanda mentioned earlier, both of us have been using, let me show you, the voice memo app on the iPhone. Make sure you can see it there. Oh, don't read my messages. Right next to my finger there. And what I have to do is write a ton of stuff in as the title of my picture, my photo of my sound. And so like the first one is Spring Peepers at Flag Ponds, April 2nd, 2021, 12 something p.m. because it doesn't record any of that, even though it says April 2nd underneath that. When you go further down, oh, it does actually record those. My mistake, but it doesn't record the time. And so I make sure that all that's in the information because none of that's going to transfer. So I'll have to add all that for the sound. Just don't get that with this. So having the sound able to be recorded through the iNet app is, I think, really awesome. I don't want to say it's a game changer, but it feels like that because as far as recording sound, it's going to help a lot of people do that. But then the key again is like, how good is your microphone? How close are you to the sound? And are you going to be able to describe where the sound is? The other thing I often do when I do a sound, because I just don't edit my sounds, I haven't found a program that I want to use or that I've been comfortable with yet. I haven't taken the time, let's be honest. And so I will say like the call is at 5 seconds, repeats at 15 seconds and 22 seconds to make sure that if somebody's listening, they can find the actual sound I'm looking for.
So you just write that in the notes?
Yeah, I do. I write that in the notes. And sometimes, like if I've been lazy with a picture, like if I put up a picture and there's 17 ducks in it, and it's the 16 ducks on the left are not what I'm interested in. It's the 17th on the right. I will write in the caption "duck on the right," or red duck on the right, or whatever. Although usually, if I'm really doing it the way I want to, take the time. I'll take that picture, put it into some like paint, and just draw a circle around the duck that I want, or even crop everybody else out and save that as a second picture and put that in. And sometimes I'll take that crop picture and that'll be the first picture, the spotlighted picture, and then the regular picture with all the other ducks and everything will go in second, so somebody can see scale, like the size of that duck compared to like all the mallards or whatever. So giving them more than one look, or even though it's the same image, it's here's the image cropped, so you know which duck I want. Here's the full image to give you an idea of how big it is in relation to a bird a lot of us know about, like a mallard. And then hold on, let me open the chat. So to do iNaturalist online, I will take photos with my camera and upload later after live done this. Yeah, you can. It's the first time I did one of these, it was the National Parks one. NPS did one in 2016. They did Bioblitz. They used iNaturalist. I think it went really well. It was nationwide, but they wanted you doing stuff in the field, so they had a live counter and to show everything that was happening right then. And that was neat. It was okay, but for me, it just didn't work because I was taking stuff with my camera and I had to go back and do it later, and I feel like I get a lot of better images with my camera. Again, I have a better phone now than I did 5 years ago. So the phone I have takes better pictures, and I'll go to that more. And now the only lens I have that works on my camera is a broken zoom lens. So if I can't zoom it, if I can't take a picture of it from 8 to 10 feet away, I take the picture with my phone. And so I'm constantly interfacing, uploading observations from two different methods. I do the desktop and I do the telephone as well.
Good.
The phone has the location, which is nice.
Yes.
If the camera doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. There are times where I'm out in the woods and I'm like, it doesn't matter what map I look at. I'm not going to know where I'm at. So I'll take another picture with the phone, and then I'll pull up that location on the phone and then find it, use that to find it on the desktop. Sometimes I've done that as well to remember where I'm at. I've done that for eBird too. I can get really, if I see a bird, if we're driving up the highway to go see family members and I see a bird somewhere and I'm like, I haven't seen that bird here before. I'll take a picture of on the map where I'm at as we're driving, and then use that to go back later and put that eBird spot in if it's a bird I really want to get on my list.
It's a great idea.
It's a life hack for naturalists and people that do this kind of stuff. So I think how to find a project, how to make sure projects and observations. So how to make sure projects and observations are fully synced with one another. That should hopefully not be too much of a problem anymore. Again, because of most of them are collection now. The other thing, something that happens here, I feel like somebody asked another question, and I don't see it, and I don't remember where it came up. Oh, I think maybe somebody mentioned it tonight. There are a lot of projects where, I put up a lot of iNaturalist stuff. I just want an observation. That is what I'm worried about. Sometimes people are searching for certain things, and so I'll come in and look at my updates, and instead of like somebody added an identification, somebody added a life stage, somebody added a fruit/seed pod or whatever, and they're doing that kinds of thing, especially a lot with the insects, like this is a larva because it's a caterpillar or that. I don't do that a lot, and iNaturalist doesn't really require it, but you can add a lot of extra data pieces like that if you're trying to provide something for somebody who's searching for something. Like Joanne earlier asked about the Occoquan projects, and if they're doing something specifically about butterflies and moths, if they grab every butterfly and moth observation that goes into iNaturalist, what they're not getting, or what they're going to get, is every butterfly and moth and every caterpillar and every cocoon and chrysalis and even every egg. And so what they might want to be able to do is sift through that so that they just have the adults, because they're really just interested in the adults and their flight times at time for that project. I'm making all this up. And so that's where that information can be important. So if you're specifically tailoring your observations to somebody's project, those kind of considerations are really important. I don't really do that a lot. There might be some time where I go back and I'm like, I really want to get in there and do all this, but I'm approaching 20,000 observations. There's not a whole lot of that little maintenance I want to do with mine, other than make sure that any identifications I got that I didn't realize I know now. So it really depends on what you want to do with it and how deep you want to get into each one. And you can certainly do all that. Like, I don't want to keep anybody from doing that, but I know somebody mentioned that, and it's like some of that stuff just doesn't fill in by itself. And if you want that information on it, you have to do it. And I know sometimes I think when people come through and do that, they also do it to other like I've had people do it to my observations because they want it for whatever they're including that in, and that's fine. I just I haven't found that to be something I'm very passionate about as far as iNaturalist. And I try not to say that it's not important to me, because it's not particularly all the time. But I know it's important to some people, and I don't want to take that away. But it's not. I put so much up on there, and I have other things to do. And so if I can just get this stuff up there, and somebody else wants to change that information or add that information to my observation, that's great. But I don't always have time for it yet. Maybe someday. And if you want to set up a project, I'm going to try this real quick. So you want to know, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. You want to know what your project is going to be. That's hopefully obvious. Most of the projects now are collections. But to set up a project, you would go to Community and Projects and start a project. And that's it. I mean, that's really all you have to do. You know, you can put up a ton of projects. At this point, you really want to be able to just define what you are looking for. Projects are designed, and you do want to read through this. I can go through this. Collection projects are kind of what they do now. An umbrella project collects data from several projects. I don't know. And then okay. And so right here, right in the fine line, because I think they're trying to move away from this, but you can still create what's considered a traditional project. And that would be, and then you would fill out this form. Essentially what that means is, in a traditional project, they don't have the enough filters to just dump stuff in. So you would still need, if you did a traditional project, to get people to add to it, you would still need to, they would still need to add it manually, which is what I was showing you earlier. Like with the flower visiting wasps of the US, if you remember that. You know, you could take a ton of wasp pictures, but what they really wanted on that project was wasps on flowers, and they really wanted you to put the name of the wasp in the flower, or the name of the flower the wasp is on, if you know, and they had a lot of things to do that. And so you can actually specify certain criteria that have to be filled out. That kind of thing. So and then if you want to do a collection project, you would get started here. And again, it's really, just your name. These are pictures, which you can always add later. But they want a project summary, and then what your project's going to include, and the collection type. It's really very simple. And so it really depends on what you want to start with. I am happy to talk to anybody one-on-one about starting a project. If you want to start a project about a certain park in Arlington, I would love to do that. All the Arlington projects, we come up here to projects and manage your projects and look at all my projects, blah, blah. These are all, I didn't start all these a lot. Some of these I did, but many of these are just ones I joined. Excuse me. Here's a good one. Let's do Fort C.F. Smith, because it's got both stuff. I've been trying to add pictures to all of our Arlington ones, but there's a banner. This is the icon. So whenever the project name shows up on a observation, this little cannon shows up. Here's the description that was written. Essentially, Rachel wrote a description for the Long Branch project, and I was like, that's great. And then I used it to cut and paste the park names for all the other parks. And then again, I can't remember. I'm blanking on. I can see the user, her username, and I'm blanking on her actual name. But an ARMN member went through, used all of the GPS coordinates to define all of our parks, which was such an awesome help. And so I went through and used all the polygons that she created that way to do all of these parks. And so it's a very accurate description of what's in Fort C.F. Smith Park. And so I really like the really using these. So the projects that we have are all collection projects, and the only criteria is that it falls within those boundaries. So like I said, we have several. This is Barcroft. This is Bluemont, Donaldson Run, Fort C.F. Smith, Gulf Branch, and Old Glebe. This is Long Branch, Glencarlin. This is Potomac Overlook and Powhatan Springs. This is Tuckahoe, and this is Windy Run. And I feel like there's an Upton Hills one as well, although I helped somebody do that one, I think, but I didn't do it myself. So we have several of these around the county, and I want to get these up and looking spiffier before the City Nature Challenge this weekend. But if you want to do something like that, these are really easy. I'd love to. And Alonzo and I are all admins on this. Rachel's also admin on the Long Branch one, or Rachel and I are on Long Branch. Alonzo and I are on all the others. And so I want to make sure that, if you want to do something like that, that's great. We could probably do that and add that in. And I think at some point I'll do an umbrella project for all 10 or any more that we have.
Right. Ken, I have a question.
Sure.
If I do an observation in Barcroft for this weekend, would it be counted both in City Nature Challenge and in biodiversity in Barcroft?
Yes, it would. I'm trying to remember. Let me see if I can find. Whoops, sorry. I keep going to it without sharing. Let's come back here. So let me show you. Really, observation. Oh, you know what? I can remember. Let's mantises in Arlington, Virginia. So I'm under your observations here. And so I'm searching through my observations, any observation I made of mantises in Arlington, Virginia. It really cuts down it helps me quickly find what I'm looking for. And I had here we go. So this was City Nature Challenge 3 years ago. I was super excited to find these manads leaving this egg sac the morning of, this was the weekend of this City Nature Challenge. So as soon as this went up, it would have been included in biodiversity in Fort C.F. Smith, was automatically included in the City Nature Challenge for DC metro area and the entire City Metro Challenge as well. So that observation immediately would have went into 3 projects. Since that was a bird walk, let's go. Another way to search your observations is to go here. And I find that this is a little easier to do dates. I'm going to search for anything on April 28th, 2018, because I know that was City Nature Challenge. Whoops. What happened there? And then here we go. Cooper's Hawk. Oh, this is great. This will show a lot of what on. So I want to make sure people knew which bird I want. So I put a circle in it. It's at the center. And then I did a crow as well. And the crow was the next one over. And this is during the City Nature Challenge. So went in the City Nature Challenge and City Nature Challenge and Virginia Bioblitz. This wasn't there then, but this is immediate. And Fort C.F. Smith Park and Birds of the World. So as soon as if this observation was done this weekend, it would go in both City Nature Challenge buckets, Virginia Bioblitz, Fort C.F. Smith Park, and Birds of the World. So within seconds of uploading that observation, you would already be in 5 projects. And so that's how the collection projects work. So anything that you do in those parks that I mentioned is going to automatically show up in the park projects, City Nature Challenge projects, and anything else they fit in as well. If
Without
somebody has
having to join, right?
Without having to join, that's right.
Yep.
If you join, it's easier, like I said, for you to search that stuff, but
Sure.
you don't have to join for it to be included.
That's cool. Great.
Oh, cool. And then Lori put a project that she created of butterflies and moths in the DC area each year. And that's in the chat if you want to link to that and check that out. And I'm going to spotlight that right now, if that's okay, Lori. DMV LEPS 2021, Lepidoptera seen in 2021 in the DC area. And there you go. That's pretty cool. This guy does a lot of insects, so I'm not surprised that he's on there. And again, you don't have to join. You can join, but you can see there's a lot of people in here. And so once you've done a collection, my guess is that did I not share my talking and you guys can't see it? Can you guys see it okay?
Not yet.
No.
Interesting. Oh, because I didn't choose what to share. Haha, user error. So here's Lori's project that she sent. And it looks like she included it, set a timeline as well. So it's just this calendar year. So that's pretty neat. So it'll be just butterflies that are seen within the area for 2021. All right. Oh, it's getting dark out here. Any other questions? Anything I missed? Anything you want to add in? Probably something I missed. And somebody asked for suggestions on projects or individual users to follow. It just really depends on what you're interested in. If you see somebody that adds a lot of reptiles and amphibians, or a lot of bugs, and that's what you're interested in, you could follow them. There's probably I'm sure there's a lot of ARMN users on there. I was looking at a project with the Long Branch project with Rachel today, and I was so excited because when we did change it to be a collection, all these other people showed up, and I was like, oh, that's blah blah blah, and that's blah blah blah, and that's blah blah blah, and I knew them from their logos. Like it was Salamander came up, and that is one of our past camp participants who is in high school now, but Luca does a lot of observations around the county. I think Luca's #1 in the county right now, and then there's another one that was a fox, which I know is Tom Murata, who is an ARMN member. I just recognize it. So you'll get to recognize those if you're in there and around a lot, especially looking at local stuff. So again, projects or individuals, whatever you're interested in. Joanne has worked with Jim Wagner, so she's aware of those Occoquan projects. There is a fish and wildlife or National Wildlife Refuge project that I'm in because I like to visit them a lot, and I like to add to it. I like to see what's showing up there. I think that one is not a collection you have to add stuff in when you go, but that's a really neat project I'd like to keep an eye on. If I've gone somewhere and I see something neat, and I'll check it out. Huntley Meadow has a really nice project. Somebody finally did one that's specifically for Huntley Meadows, and I was like visiting that one and see what they're seeing there as well. I've used it to find birds before because I'll go on and identify, and I think 2 or 3 years ago there was a little blue heron at Huntley Meadows, and I was like, there's a little blue heron, and I went that weekend and got to add that to my bird list. So it's whatever you want to use it for. Well, the porch lights are coming on. Any other questions before I need to go? I think I need to.
Thanks, Ken.
Oh, no worries. Oh, Yolanda, is that you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Do you have peepers in the background?
Oh, I do. Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
You can hear them. There is a pond across the park on private property.
You can practice using that sound app now.
Yes, actually, I think I have recorded them, but I will. Yes, definitely.
But not today. You haven't recorded them.
I haven't. You're right. All right. You've challenged me. I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, you could save that one for Friday too.
That's true.
That's one in
that
the back,
is true. To be official, yes.
Yeah. So there's a new thing. The other thing I noticed today is if you go onto the main iNaturalist page and scroll down at the bottom, they have this thing that says who's using iNaturalist. And there's a couple of different researchers that are using iNaturalist as well. And so you can find some really neat stories from people that have used iNaturalist to do bioblitzes and things that they found and stuff like that. So I feel there's a lot of worth to it, and I'm glad we're using it. People are excited about it.
That's good to know.
Yeah, good, Gloria. I'm glad you updated your app. Can't get off mute. One thing about my president on the individual observation, they don't show up as being in my project. Oh, that's interesting. I want to ask you more about that. Well, thanks everybody for being here. If anybody has any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to head out here because I have a very important comic book to read with a very important young lady who's really enjoying this new book that my daughter and I started. So I'm getting close to bedtime. But you're welcome. There's some nice comments and thank yous in the chat, and I really appreciate those. Thank you.
Thanks,
Great.
Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
No worries. And again, any questions before or after or during the City Nature Challenge, by all means, feel free to email. I'm happy to look at them. I love this kind of stuff, and if I can help, I will. And if I can't, I'll find out the answer somewhere else.
Thanks very much.
No problem. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Great.